At that time, we didn't have the internet as we have today, no blogs, no emails, and I saw a poster. It said London semester, and I was with my buddy Sean, and I said, hey, you want to do that? That sounds like fun. He goes, that sounds like a lot of fun. And, I started the process and signed up. I quit my job, and this was all in this was all in 1989, and so London semester was in 1990.
It was January 8, 1990, when an excited and somewhat nervous group of students gathered at San Francisco Airport for their flight to London.
We all met up in the city and flew from there. We had a lot of turbulence. I hate flying, and we landed in London. It was, up until that point, I'd been to Los Angeles, stayed primarily in California.
These 55 students from California State University, Fresno, many of whom had never traveled outside the United States, were about to embark on a long-term international learning experience.
Dr. Jerry Bryan, international marketing, he lugged this huge camera around, and so he recorded just about everything, everywhere we went, every celebration, and he was constantly charging it, constantly looking for a place to plug it in. And 1990 wasn't that long ago, but in technology terms it was. And it was a labor of love for him to do this. He really wanted to document this experience.
This would be my home for the next 3 months.
So students had an option. You could pay a little more to live in a flat, or you could stay in the hotel.
On the ground floor was the reception lobby, dining room, and this lounge. This was our social center. Each evening, people gathered for a drink before dinner, and after the meal, returned for coffee and long hours of pleasant conversation. It was a very genteel routine.
The way the program's set up was when we got there, we did 2 weeks of travel. And so there are just different breaking memory points. I really enjoyed York. Some of my favorite memories, going to Kew Gardens, going to any of the number of open parks. And of course, when we started, it was cold and rainy, and it was horrible. We had full London weather. It was intense. But as soon as it got 48 degrees, 50 degrees, everyone in London came out and they were sunbathing, and it was kind of funny being from Fresno.
Leaving York, we returned to London and to phase 2 of the students' international learning experience, the classroom. Linnea Aycock was in charge of the English classes.
How will you justify that, your choice? The entire book.
To see students discover London, often for the first time. Some students have never been outside of the Valley or outside of California, and to see them experience the culture and all of the art, the plays. It's such a cliche to say it changes their life, but I watch it change their lives.
Dr. Joyce Akins was our program director and our humanities instructor.
On April 12th, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, are the Shakespeare scenes.
For some of them, they had never been to a play, they had never been to an art exhibit, they had never been to a really important concert. And I think that the basis of the program set in the humanities was a wonderful thing to open up these students' eyes. It changed the way they looked at the world, and they became much more global in their thinking. And I think most of them said it was the most valuable semester they'd ever had in school.
On our final evening, the students arranged a party on the Thames.
I've ever worked with, and
They surely told me the flats were the best flats taken care of than any she's had.
And so ended our good time and goodbye get-together. The next day, we dispersed and went our separate ways.
You know, you come back from something like this, and you're back where you started, but you're not the same person. And you struggle with how do I incorporate what I just learned and experienced. It took years before I realized what my long-term purpose was going to be. And I can love plants, I can love everything there is about that, and that belongs to me. But I realized that working in fundraising for nonprofits, that was pretty much where I belong. Something more social, something more long-term goal-oriented, and that's part of the arts coming in. You know? So London semester did that, and I can tell you, I'm forever grateful for Fresno State offering the program.